NBC Sports presents. They have traveled here from every corner of the world. For 10 non-stop days and nights, they must hike, mountain climb, paddle, ride, and race through some of the most captivating yet dangerous terrain in one of the last great wilderness areas on Earth.
Last summer in the leech-infested jungles of Borneo, Robyn's team brought home the Eco Challenge Championship.
We have the Eco Challenge winners. They're on the roof right now. That's Ian, Robyn, Mike, and Isaac. How you doing, guys?
And I want to ask you guys, what was the toughest part?
It was just so mentally hard. I remember one night in particular, we were laying on the jungle floor, with not only bugs crawling around beneath us, but leeches falling from the trees onto us like rain.
Oh my
Ping,
God.
ping, 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 all over us.
Oh my God.
This is the world's toughest adventure race.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robyn Benincasa.
Hey, Team Liberty! You guys are so nice. Thank you. I love you already. You guys ready for an awesome adventure?
Yes!
All right, let's do this thing. Today we're going to have an incredible adventure. We're going to explore some of the coolest places on Earth. But most importantly, we're going to explore you. Why you're awesome. Why you're a winner. And why you're going to continue to win and take others with you on that journey to the next highest peak, no matter how difficult the challenge or how tough the climb, but especially in times when change is the only thing that stays the same. And I want to share all of that with you in the most fun way I can, and that's by using some examples from my super ludicrous sport of adventure racing. Anybody here ever heard of adventure racing before like 1 minute ago? Bueller? Is there like half, that's all like half a hand? And it's like, oh no, it's the Amazing Race. No, I've never heard of adventure racing. Adventure racing is a sport that was invented by a crazy Frenchman and popularized in the US by a little known guy named Mark Burnett. Right? Sort of Survivor and every other show on the planet. And it involves small teams of men and women. You have to have one man and one woman on each team. And they ask you to meet in the middle of the most remote place they can find in the galaxy, hand you a set of maps and compasses and road rules, and say, see you guys in 600 to 1,000 miles. Whichever team gets there first wins. And the race is completely non-stop in nature, so there's no beautiful like Boca resorts along the way. Completely non-stop, and it's all non-motorized transportation, kayaking, mountain biking, whitewater rafting, mountaineering. And as if the physical part isn't hard enough, here's the kicker. You have to remain within 50 yards of every single person on the team from start to finish. One big ball. I mean, there's not that many people in our immediate families that we'd want to spend that kind of quality time, right? And if you cross the finish line without even one teammate, your whole entire team is disqualified. So based on the crazy rules of this ultra-endurance sport, the fact that we couldn't achieve individual success without the entire team succeeding, the most important thing we learned out there has nothing to do with sports, as you can imagine. The most important thing we learned out there is something that you guys learn as winners and leaders every single day. And that is that the secret to long-term success in any business is to play less as an individual and more as a team. As a coach, you play not your 11 best, you play your best 11. Right? In other words, the greatest outcomes aren't created by the greatest individual superstars. The greatest outcomes are created by the greatest teammates. So after that charming description, does anybody here want to be an adventure racer when they grow up? No, yay! You're all too smart and you have real jobs, really important jobs. But the reason that we use adventure racing examples is that, guess what? Everybody in this room, every single day, you can see this coming. You're already an adventure racer, right? You got small teams of men and women, you're trying to make it through a seemingly endless series of checkpoints in pursuit of a nearly impossible goal, working against extreme time pressures in constantly changing conditions and trying to do it better than anybody else in the industry. Hi, adventure racers. This is not a sprint, baby. This is an endurance race what you guys do. And if you want to go fast, you can go alone. If you want to go far, you got to go. Yeah. Absolutely. So how do we, as winners and leaders, create that extreme performance? Well, for my teammates and I, there were 8 essential elements that create this extreme performance. So I'm going to share the highlight reel with you guys today. And it starts with total commitment. That no plan B detracts from plan A. Kind of absolute 100% commitment. And for us, we discovered it was a matter of what we called the 4 Ps. And the 4 Ps are what stands between a huge, hairy, audacious goal and standing at a finish line with that goal in your hands. And that is planning and constantly communicating that plan to the rest of the team. You guys are incredible planners in this business. Such an important part of what you do. And on those tough days, elevating yourself and your teammates' sense of purpose. Bringing yourselves back to why you guys do what you do. Securing the future for families. And thinking about all those people that have come back and thanked you for bringing them into the Liberty Circle. Elevate your sense of purpose. Perseverance, never letting emotion affect locomotion. It's not how you feel on a certain day. It's what you do anyway, right? And your preparation, because guess who the luckiest people on earth are? Guess why all you guys are here in this room as the rock stars that you are. You're so incredibly well prepared. And then you're constantly scanning the horizon for opportunities and creating opportunities, which makes you incredibly lucky. But I'll tell you one thing we learned for sure about commitment on those crazy mountains and rivers and jungles of the world in these silly adventure races. By definition, commitment starts when the fun stops, right? I mean, everybody starts strong. In fact, like we're all standing at the start line, wearing matching outfits, the sun's out, we're high-fiving each other, yay, we're adventure racers. And about 12 hours later, the sideways hail over with leeches want to strangle each other. That's where commitment really starts. And you don't get to find out how committed you are to something until it starts sucking.
Yeah.
Right? So this first thing to share with you guys is our team in the jungle of Borneo, where the fun had stopped for us about 5 days before we ended this moment. And we're racing the French, which you'll sense is a theme throughout this entire presentation. In these years, it was always us and the French at the front of the race, because they invented the sport. And we were kind of the first team to ever challenge them at this crazy game that they created. So we had kind of fun, friendly rivalry with these guys, and over the years it became kind of, okay, the best way I can describe it is if I have Seinfeld fans. Do I have Seinfeld people? Really? Yeah! Okay, so over the years it kind of became more of a Seinfeld-Newman kind of relationship between us and the French. And we're racing them day 5 of this race. We've got a 3-hour lead on them. We go running into these caves, and it appeared as though all we had to do was run into these caves, instead of these ropes, run down this ridgeline, jump on our boats, paddle 60 miles to the finish, we're going to win the Eco Challenge. Well, not so fast. Our first step in the caves, by the way, up to here, over our knees. What's at the bottom of the cave, you guys?
Bat crap.
Bat guano! Which has nothing to do with the story, just adds flavor. Okay, as long as I'm here on this tangent that I'm not supposed to be on, I can tell you what happened. My third step, no shoe. I know. And it was one of those moments that my sisters out there will understand this, where I had to throw down one of my girl cards. Right? We all have a set of girl cards. Use them sparingly. We all have them. And I mean, I got us to the race, and I got us our sponsors, I got us our mountain bikes, and I did all the things that it took to get us to the race. We were taking the poop for shoes. That's a boy job. I'm just saying. You guys know this. Girl jobs, boy jobs. All right, but I digress. All right, so there's 4 ropes in the back of these caves. So we finally find our ropes. We're ascending up. We're about halfway up, and suddenly my rope is shaking around. I don't know what the heck is going on. I look down. Guess who's at the bottom of my rope? Newman, Lieutenant French man. And he was not particularly shy. He was actually holding onto my rope, and he starts shaking it, and he's yelling, "It's off the rope, America! We got the wins, the Eco Challenge!" French. So standard me, I went into kind of full panic mode. I started ascending as fast as I can. And I had a really smart team captain, a guy named Mike Closer out of Vail, Colorado. He quickly assessed the situation. He said, "Hey guys, there's only 4 ropes here. It's the only way forward on the course. They can't get past us till we get off." So what do you think we did? Yeah. Wow, nobody said cut the ropes. That's good. No, we stopped, right? We ate all our food, we drank all our water, we prepared for battle. So we did that for about 15 minutes. We started standing up these ropes, we're running down this ridge line, and now the French are chasing us, and it's 120 degrees out, literally. And this section's a hell of a lot longer than it looked on the map, and my feet are bleeding, I'm covered with leeches. I've been in the same lycra outfit for 5 days, and I start to get to the end of my rope. And sometimes when girls get to the end of our ropes, we cry. Yep. So there I am in front of the World Championships, where running behind us, my teammates are running down ahead of us, and there's a 12-meter drop on both sides, so I can't keep moving because I'm going to die. And so there I am crying all by myself in the middle of this ridge line. And finally, my buddy Mikey, down there with the rest of my team, realizes I'm not with them, and he starts trucking back up the ridge line, and I see him coming, I'm just bracing for impact. And I'll never forget what he said. It was kind of a graceful leadership moment. He stood right in front of me and said, "Okay, Rob, I got a wife and a daughter, and I know that you people have to do this. But there's a difference between people that are going to win this race and people that are going to lose this race. And it's not that people that are going to win this race aren't crying, because it's okay. And, you know, this sucks and it's hard. And you keep crying. Nobody cares. It's just that people that are going to win are crying." And then he grabbed my hand and said, "And they're walking." And bless his heart, he held my hand as I cried and stumbled and made my way down that ridgeline the next several hours. I realized, man, is right. And when you're truly committed to something, it doesn't mean you don't have a crappy day. No, it just means that you cry while you're doing it anyway. So here's a quick little clip in Borneo.
On the ridge to Eton Peak, the lead teams are learning that things are not always as they seem.
There's a fake, false summit. It'll be soul destroying when they get there and realise they've only gone a third of the way and now to descend and climb higher and higher than ever before. It just takes such courage to overcome the expectation of something being easy and then to find out it's really, really hard. That's what Eco Challenge is all about though. Digging deep in your soul and keeping going. It's a race about character.
To dig down that deep with 300 people and to have them love you and support you when you're nasty and disgusting and you're crying or you're scared, knowing that your 4 hearts and your 4 minds are one heart and one mind. It is such a bonding experience.
Can I get an amen? The leopard skin lycra? Amen, brothers and sisters. Everybody in this room knows that feeling of that complete 100% total commitment to your goals, right? Or you wouldn't be here right now. And I know that you guys have had that amazing experience of operating with a great team with one heart and one mind. And that's exactly why you got to this incredible finish line and why you're going to be here year in and year out. All right, the next essential element of this extreme performance is your ability to manage challenge, change, and adversity. Because if there's one thing that everybody in this room knows, it's that change is the only thing that stays the same. Right? It's how we respond to those changes that dictates our long-term success. And we also know that no matter how hard we try, no matter how well we plan, the journey of 1,000 miles sometimes ends very, very badly. Stuff happens, right? I mean, some days we're the bear, you know, we got customers jumping in our mouths all day long. Some days we're the salmon. So how do we continue to inspire ourselves on those salmon days? And maybe not just to get through those salmon days, but maybe to inspire the people around us to take it up a notch in the face of those salmon days. Well, a lot of it, bless you, a lot of it is your attitude. Are you a leader that sees and speaks in challenges versus roadblocks? And are you ruled by ultimately the hope of success versus the fear of failure? These lead you to 2 very different finish lines, right? I mean, next time you're faced with a really difficult challenge, think about where your brain lives. Does it live in what's it going to take to not lose and just kind of hold my ground? Or does your brain ultimately rest on what's it really going to take to win? I learned this lesson the hard way from my buddy Ian. First time I raced with the best team in the world in the French version of the Eco Challenge, which is called the Raid Gauloise. And we're racing the French. Once again, neck and neck, boom, 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 non-stop for 6 days. Literally tied at the front of the race. Day 7, we started 3 days downriver. Started with whitewater rafts and went to inflatable canoes, then went to kayaks. So we jump in our whitewater raft, they jump in their whitewater raft, and I had been fear of failure person my whole life. So where do you think my focus was? On them, right? Or we're losing ground. So I would paddle, 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 turn around, paddle, 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 turn around. I did this for hours, seeing where our competitors were. Until finally my buddy Ian was sitting behind me in the boat. He was so annoyed by me and where my focus was, that the next time I turned around to see where the French were, he was so mad. He took his paddle and he literally threw it down in the boat, all pissed off. And he grabbed the top of my head, which was facing backwards, and he physically spun my head back around to face forwards. And he leaned over, and in my ear, he said, "Winning is that way." That means a lot more to me now than it did then. Okay, honestly, I did spend the next several hours thinking about how I could drown the little man. But there was a guy on the other side of the boat, a guy named Steve Gurney, who was a much higher level thinker than I was at the time. And he heard Ian say, "Winning is that way." And so his little MacGyver brain started focusing on what's it really going to take to win. And in the next transition area, the race director took away our whitewater rafts and handed each team 2 inflatable canoes. So the French jumped in their 2 inflatable canoes in their 5-person team, and they took off down the river. They were gone. And Steve said, "Hey guys, hold up, I got an idea. We have our gear box here, and in our gear box, we have our climbing rope. I want to actually take out our climbing rope and tie our 2 canoes together, because I think we're going to be faster. We want to tie them together end to end, like this, throw all the D-rings on the outside using our climbing rope, making one big long canoe." And then he said, "And why are we stuck using canoe paddles just because these are technically canoes? We're a hell of a lot stronger kayaking team. We have our kayak paddles in these boxes." Now some of you guys know the difference between canoe and kayak paddles. Canoe paddle is a single blade, and then you switch hands and use it on the other side. A kayak paddle is one big long blade, and you just swing back and forth. So we were much stronger kayaking team than we were a canoeing team. We got our kayak paddles, made them longer to fit around the edges of the canoes, and between those 2 things, tying the boats together and switching out the canoe paddles for kayak paddles, we ended up creating what we called the Steve Gurney missile. And we put it on the water 40 minutes behind the French. And I was completely panicking. It was a huge risk. But with huge risk comes...
great reward.
Yep. Or you lose the Super Bowl. But believe it or not, they actually got this thing on tape. Check it out.
They head into the raging whitewater of the Rio Tawachi River. Teams Bebop and Yo launches first. 13 minutes behind the leaders, Solomon Presidio heads downriver. Solomon Presidio charges forward, determined to catch the leaders before the transition to the sea kayaks. Team Solomon Presidio pulls up on the beach at Same. They will soon become the first American team ever to win an international adventure race. This is a moment they will never forget, but the moment has lasted 9 days.
Yeah, Steve Gurney! We couldn't shake those guys for 7 days, and on the 8th day, we put 2 hours on them with the Steve Gurney missile. So literally just doing what it took to win versus simply not lose. And that's an opportunity that you guys have every single day. What is your Steve Gurney missile going to be in this industry? Now, how are you going to take your skills and your team and your adaptability and your creativity and the resources that you have at Liberty, the resources that you have in this room right now, and not only kind of tilt the game board in your favor, maybe you're going to change the game completely. I mean, in this case, the industry said that this is supposed to be 5 people in 2 canoes in a canoe race in this section. And Steve said, "I don't think so. I think that this is going to be 5 people in 1 canoe in a kayak race." Completely changed the game. Made it 100% in our favor with our strengths and our skills that we were great at. And it literally closed the door on our competitors. And that's an opportunity that you guys have every single day with the great skills and talents and resources that you have here. Great leaders also embrace their setbacks when they do happen, because they happen to all of us, as a chance to maybe learn something or excel in a different way. Now, I had a pretty decent setback myself about 6 years ago now. I discovered I had stage 4 osteoarthritis in both my hips. And so over the last 6 years, I've had 6 hip replacements. Don't even get me started. I'm I'm the person looking for those commercials, like if you've had failed replacements, call the law offices of that dude on the other line. Yeah, that's me, cheers. And that's my butt. Yeah, we were all BFFs, aren't we? But the reason that I share these crazy hips with you is because I think my bionic hips are awesome, and I get to tell people I'm 25% Wolverine. It's sweet, and I get the nicest back rub from the lady at the TSA when I go to the airport every week. It's the best. But these crazy metal hips led me to two of the neatest things that I discovered in my life, and I was always inspired by that Chet Baker quote. You know, you back up, but you never give up. So after my first hip replacement, I thought, okay, what's my never give up as an athlete? I know I'm not going to be able to really run anymore or be a great adventure racer, but I always loved the paddling sections in races. So I decided to take a whack at being an endurance paddler. And my first race was a 460-mile paddle from Whitehorse to Dawson City up in Canada. And I totally should have started with something shorter. But I did so well, and I couldn't believe it. Like when I popped out at the other end in Dawson City, and my husband had to actually physically pick me up out of the boat, he said, "I can't believe that you were third." And I said, third woman? That's awesome. And he said, "No, you were third overall out of all the solo boats." And so I was so excited about that I decided to go back to the Yukon the next year and take a whack at the Guinness World Record for longest distance paddle by a girl in a kayak in 24 hours. And was able to pull that off on the Yukon the following year. And they said, I'm an endurance paddler, and I love it. And last year, you guys appreciate this. I set the first stand-up paddling record for longest distance paddle on a stand-up board in 24 hours. And usually, you guys that have seen stand-up, it's like it's a canoe paddle that you use. Check it out. Steve Gurney missile, baby. I actually had a kayak paddle made, and no one can touch that record, because no one ever thought to use a kayak paddle before. So, you know, again, creativity changing the game, and that record still stands also. But these crazy metal hips also led me to the neatest thing I've ever done in my life, and Roger told you guys a little bit about it, starting the Project Athena Foundation, where we help survivors get to crazy endurance finish lines so they can see how amazing and strong and awesome they are, and show their families that as well. And we're so thrilled and excited last year to become one of the 2014 CNN Heroes. And they made this little video for us.
So I initially got hurt in 2005. I had 46 surgeries in attempts to salvage the leg, and I finally decided on amputation. A lot of people view it as a loss, but I got really far.
Very often, people are saying, okay, I survived, but now what? And we want to be that now what? Good job, ladies! I was a world-class adventure racer. In the World Championships, I hit the deck, and the doctor said, you're never going to run again. I've had 4 hip replacements. After my first, I said, I'm just going to put something on my calendar so that I'm still training for something. It just makes you realize it's not about the setback, it's about the comeback. So I thought, let's do that for other women. I started an organization that helps survivors of medical or traumatic setbacks live an adventurous dream as part of their recovery. This is about you going out there and being the badass that you are. You're a strong kid, Allie girl!
I was in a place of such uncertainty, so finding the website was such a message of hope to me. Here was this group of women who understood it on a different level.
Athena girl! Yay! Being an Athena, you're not just a survivor, you're an adventurer. We give them a different label to put on themselves, and it's something that they become on their way to the finish line. Survivor that we can help. But we not only take survivors on all of our adventures, we also take fundraisers. And guess who our fundraising gods and goddesses are? People just like you! Yeah. So if anybody here has a wild hair to do a really cool endurance adventure, not at adventure racing speed, speed, but with some other normal cool people at normal cool people speed. Things like hiking down the coast of San Diego for 50 miles over 2 days, or hiking across the Grand Canyon and back in 2 days, or kayaking and riding from Key Largo to Key West. Gotta love it. Over 3 days. You don't have to all rush the stage to sign up. I see you at the edge of your seats. We'll have coffee, we'll talk. If you guys want to come play with us. But you guys know the deal, right? Sometimes you have a setback, and you look back a few years later and say, you know, in a lot of ways, that might have been one of the best things that ever happened to me. I mean, in my case, I never would have discovered my strength as a paddler or started this really cool foundation if there's more cartilage in the world. So I'm kind of grateful for that all the time. Last but not least, great leaders and great winners never let the pursuit of perfection hinder progress. Right? Things aren't going to be perfect or the way you want them. But as a great winner, you guys know this, you go forward and do the very best you can with what you got on the day. That's exactly what we did in Tibet. This next thing I'm going to share with you guys. We are 7 days into this race in Tibet. Once again, racing the? Yep, the French, back and forth, neck and neck. And day 7, it appeared as though we had about a 3-hour lead. It's like Groundhog Day. We had about a 3-hour lead in the French. And we come running into this transition area, and it appeared as though all we do is jump on our mountain bikes, ride 60 miles to these little Nepalese villages, and we're going to win the raid for the second year in a row. Woo-hoo! Not so fast. We go running into the transition area, and there's nobody there. Our crew isn't there. Our mountain bikes aren't there. There's dirt there, and one guy standing in the transition area. The French course director, Sylvain. And Sylvain was quite a character. We came walking up to him and said, Sylvain, where's our crew? Where's our stuff? And we got the, yes, this is a program. Yes. For you. But not for me. So. They might be days away. I think you have a seat. Last thing he said was have a seat. So we sat for about 5 minutes. Then I had these 3 awesome leaders kind of spring into action to try to fix the situation. You will know I'm not one of them. I'm walking around the transition area going, this isn't happening, this isn't happening. I was a great leader that day. But I had these 3 awesome teammates try to not let the pursuit of perfection hinder our progress to this finish line. And it certainly wasn't pretty, but we did the very best we could with what we had.
Covered in a layer of brown dust, an energized Solomon Land Rover struts into CP39, ready for the final push. Expecting to be greeted by their crew with warm food and ready gear, they're struck by an eerie stillness in the heavy air. Horrible news. Their assistants are not here. Neither are their bikes.
I should have had time to get the other one for just waiting and traffic for 2 days and looking, and I should be here.
They're told that their crew is a day's travel away. They're devastated, in disbelief.
This is not happening. It's one of life's great experiences. It's going to teach us something.
Robyn Benincasa and Solomon Land Rover have been leading for 3 days. All they can do now is wait. And time is ticking away.
Do you speak English? Oh.
Not understanding the word defeat, and with no means of finding out how far away their assistance crew truly is, Team Captain John Howard of Solomon Land Rover has taken matters into his own hands.
We don't have our bicycles here because our assistants haven't arrived. And so we want to buy 5 bicycles from anyone. If some bikes over here we can maybe rent. Alright, that's good. Should we tell it off in a, do you want to come and ship them out? Well, it'll be great, right? You can have a woman's one, though.
No one's that one because that's the Solomon wasn't about to give up without a fight. As long as the bikes could roll, they would do the trick, or so they thought. The fleeting moment of hope is dashed just seconds later. Robert Nagel is astounded when race officials say that they will be penalized for using the bikes since they failed to meet mandatory specifications. After enduring over 400 miles of immeasurable challenges, it is this that breaks him, but only for a moment.
It seemed like at that point that it wasn't even possible that we could still win this thing, and that's when we all got entirely under our butts.
At times like these, it is clear that adventure racing tests a person's mental strength as much as physical strength.
We took off with local bikes saying these guys are making up the rules as they go along. They're not going to let us win this race. Now we just have to prove what kind of people we are.
You know, people touch you in your lifetime, not what you achieve, but what you
Oy vey. You guys want to know what happened? Okay, I'll give you the quick yada yada yada. Okay, so yada yada yada. Sylvan decides that we're going to have 12 hours worth of penalties. 3 hours for each bike. And so we take off on those POS bikes, right? And it's an absolute nightmare. We don't have replacement parts and things are falling apart and chains are breaking. You know, by about 12 miles into this now, we're all pushing these bikes through the sand, you know, just waiting to be passed. And then we look up, and we're so thrilled and excited because we see our crew coming towards us with our good mountain bikes. And so we're jumping up and down, and we start switching out the crappy bikes for good bikes. We're about to take off, thinking we can still win. And then somebody on my team had a really bad idea. He thought we should get on the radio and ask Sylvan if we could do it. You guys know beg forgiveness later, right? So we hear back, oh, this is not possible. This is a disqualification. He basically told us we were on top of the 12 hours penalties. We were not going to be disqualified if we swapped out gear in any other location than the official transition area, which happened to be 12 miles back where we started. So we either had to push the bikes the 40-something miles that way or push them back the 12 miles to the square of dirt where we were allowed to switch gear. And we're pushing our bikes back the 12 miles. And I'm in tears as usual. My teammate Keith is like spouting successories about being judged by our attitude. And then we look up and guess who's coming towards us on their super bitchin' mountain bikes?
French.
The French, hurling victoriously to the finish line in the Ray Gauloise, you know, as it should be. And suddenly there's a helicopter taking flight because it has the camera underneath it. And they have to catch the moment where the French are hurling victoriously to the finish line, and the sad, like, Kiwis and Aussies and North Americans are in tears, you know, pushing our bikes back. And then about 5 miles later, something kind of crazy happened.